And we're back. We are back for another episode of BYLATINMEN with your hosts, Kevin Ortega Rojas, and what's your name again?
Anthony.
It's
That's all they need
it's
to
been
know.
a while.
I don't need nobody trying to steal my credit.
That's not even your legal name.
Shut up! Wow. What enemies do you need? Oh,
all right, guys, we are back for a new episode of BYLATINMEN, and this week we are talking about respectability politics. Anthony, hot topics. Do you ever factor respectability politics into how you show up online, at work, or in your everyday life?
So for the listeners, you should define respectability politics.
You know what? Let's look up the definition of it. The actual definition of respectability politics. Respectability politics is a strategy where members of a marginalized group adopt behavior styles and values of the dominant culture in order to gain acceptance, fight stereotypes, and achieve upward social mobility. But it's criticized for placing the burden on the marginalized, erasing cultural identity, and failing to dismantle systemic racism. So, do you find yourself attributing any of that in your life?
No, absolutely not.
You are the least politically correct
I wore
person.
today a Kamala Harris and Walls t-shirt to work.
I don't think that has anything to do. I think Kamala Harris is, I mean, okay, so
compared to Trump supporters?
If you're factoring in the fact that you work in a very
MAGA
big
town?
Yeah, I guess that's it. But I mean,
no, but I don't assimilate to any of their beliefs or try to blend in or fit in. I do my job.
So this is where, and I didn't talk about it on last week's episode, but this is where I was talking about the difference between, and me trying to figure out what the difference between Kevin, the person, and like, here's why Kevin, the like reporter, show up. And that's why it was hard for me to decide. That's why I felt like I couldn't do the podcast and I couldn't do the podcast and make Here's Why Kevin grow at the same time because of respectability politics, and I completely like own that, but that is just the environment. It's the same reason why I decided to cut my hair to make more content. But
do you still believe that all of that, you had to do all that?
Yes.
Why?
And here's why. I'm going to tell you.
Not a plug.
So what I was going to say is there is a YouTuber who I've referenced before. Her name is Kimberly Nicole Foster, who runs a platform called For Harriet. And she's talked about before how it's easier for someone to pivot from being an authority figure, from being someone who has legitimacy and credits and has, some sort of societal respect, and go into someone who is more lighthearted, who's goofy, who can talk about, things that are not necessarily that serious. It's easier to make that transition than it is to go from being like Young Miami and then being like, I'm going to run for Congress. You know what I mean? Like, no one's going to listen to Sexy Red sit down and talk about politics.
But I don't think BYLATINMEN was that.
I don't think it's that either. Yeah. But I think that we definitely...
Listen, I support cutting your hair.
There's definitely something to be said for when you're building a profile, when you're building, especially in an industry where I don't have the same credentials as other people, there was definitely a feeling where I'm like, I can't go on the podcast and like, talk about my sex life or talk about these things yet because I don't want that to be the first thing that people know.
But we don't have to, period. I didn't.
But I'm saying in general, but that's how I feel like I show up in a way that's real on this platform. And so here's
you don't have to.
I'm not saying I have to.
With your new platform, you're not going to be on here talking about sex.
Exactly. But in general, I didn't know what boundaries to cross or what I could talk about or what came across as like too personal. So
I think a better way to put it is...
An example that I use, hold on.
But hold on. I think the better way to say it is your first impression on your new platform.
It's not about a new platform.
New introduction.
I wanted my work, my like serious work, to be a thing that people knew me for. Yeah. Like I still want people to know me for BYLATINMEN, but I want them to be like, oh, Kevin's that like reporter who does this podcast. Yeah, versus Kevin's that like gay Latino guy who also tries to do politics.
Or just not a podcaster like a million other people.
So an example that I often think about is Anderson Cooper. Anderson Cooper is one of the reasons that I've always wanted to be a journalist. I remember him being overseas covering wars, right? And being a respectable person in journalism. Yeah. And then years and years and years into his career, he's getting drunk with Andy Cohen, his best friend, on like New Year's, because he's built up a reputation where people know he's respected. So it's easy to watch him be silly and goof off and be lighthearted.
But it's a different environment.
Sure.
It's New Year's Eve. It's a celebration. It's not like he's drinking with him during the interview on late night TV on a Tuesday.
But they don't have people who are not legitimate, completely set up people. They don't give them the free reign to do that for a reason. Do you know what I mean? So there is a debate on Reddit that I thought was really interesting about respectability politics and LGBTQ rights.
Okay.
I skimmed it, and I'm going to read to you sort of like the big picture details of this post because I thought it was interesting. So this is from a Reddit thread. The title is Respectability Politics, Not Radical Activism. One LGBT people societal acceptance. This person wrote, there is a leftist... I hate when y'all say that. There is a leftist tendency to criticize and decry respectability politics when it comes to the discussion of how LGBTQ plus rights were won. And you often hear people say it was drag queens, trans women, etc. who won the community their rights. I disagree. 15 years ago, society was considerably more homophobic than it is today. The way that being gay, lesbian, or bisexual became accepted in the mainstream was through the message, we are no different. We are ordinary people who wish to have families, raise children, go to work, contribute to society, just like you. The only difference is who we are attracted to and who we love. That messaging was great. LGBTQ plus people were just trying to assimilate, to live their lives in peace, not bother anyone, and have the same civil rights and liberties as everyone else. Slowly but surely, this messaging caught on, and a greater degree of societal acceptance was achieved. I don't want to read this person's entire ramblings, but
I was gonna say, girl,
they ended it by saying, we need to accept that some things are considered acceptable in society and some things are not. So this person was talking about a whole host of things. What do you think of the message that the way for LGBTQ plus people to exist is through performing respectability politics?
I see it.
I'm sure you do.
I've seen it. I still think it's stupid. I'm like, these people know you're a fag and they still don't respect you. Like, they just not gonna probably ostracize you or make you feel make you feel uncomfortable because you're not doing anything for them to criticize or you're trying to fit in. But like at work, I could talk about one specific person who, like, knowing the person who worked, right? They would say, oh, you know, they were from African descent. They came from either Nigeria or Liberia. And they would criticize the African American, like, black person, say they lazy and like they you know, they were born here. They shouldn't be doing the same job I'm doing. But guess what? That same person who aligned with MAGA for like the last 5 years is now out of this country for the last 6 months and can't get a visa to come back. So, like, where did that politics take you? Nowhere. It just made you feel better then, but it's still, you have a reality check now that you are still in the same situation that you came in. Like, putting on a show doesn't give you protections that you don't have. And as a gay person in the workplace, at the end of the day, if people know, unless you're in the closet, you are not protected or you're not getting any cool points because you're aligning with people that don't like you.
Yeah. And I mean, there is, because again, this isn't just about politics.
Yeah, just politics. Yeah.
This is in general. And so the idea, if we're talking specifically around like how queer and gay people perform respectability politics, it's really interesting because, like, for example, we have Scott Bessent, who's the U.S. Secretary of the Treasury. And like, he's a big flaming fag. And he's like one of the highest, technically, the Secretary of Treasury is higher up in rank than the Secretary of Transportation. So he is the highest openly LGBTQ elected official or appointed official ahead of Pete Buttigieg. He's a big flaming fag, but somehow he still is able to stand by this administration that's like openly homophobic.
Because he's not being affected by it.
Yeah,
and he's very rich.
And but what I've also seen from this administration.
Look at Caitlyn Jenner. Hello.
Who?
Yeah.
What I've also seen from this. No.
Damn, Kevin still ain't changed. He don't like the dead naming. Okay.
What I've also seen from this administration is, and I'm sure you remember this messaging about normal gays. Do you remember when JD Vance said that?
Yes.
I wouldn't be surprised if me and Trump won just the normal gay guy vote. Because, again, they just wanted to be left the hell alone, and now you have all this crazy stuff on top.
Which I thought was really interesting because there's this, argument about how if you are gay in a specific way, which usually means quiet about it.
Right, in the closet.
Not
Like,
even
the other
in the closet.
Republicans, hello?
No, because Scott Besson isn't in the closet, but
Mike Johnson
he just happens to be gay.
Lindsey Graham is.
He's a allegedly.
Oh, you can say that. Go ahead.
So
we should have a sign.
So allegedly, he's a white supremacist who happens to be gay. You
Tim
know,
Scott.
Gay.
Yeah.
Tim Scott is
the black guy.
Not gay.
He's very gay.
So,
okay.
What do you think about that messaging though about normal gays? Because it does make me think about the times when you are like, oh, you know, the gays do this or the gays do that. And I know that one, you're gay, and two, you're semi-joking, like making comments about your own community, so it's different. But how does that sort of factor into that narrative that like queer people should perform a certain lifestyle?
They're just too different. They're not talking about lifestyle.
Mm-hmm.
They're talking about how you present publicly. Because those DLs be the worst ones in the fucking circuit parties and getting... I don't think that the point of them saying, oh, we have the good gays, was to actually say, oh, we love gays. It's just to try to get the moniker off of them that says that they are transphobic or homophobic or that they don't like gay people. We know they don't. That's why a Caitlyn Jenner is against trans rights and she's a trans woman. And they love her, and they have her speaking at the RNC. I don't think that I'm not changing my opinion. I'm still gonna criticize what I don't agree with, especially in like the scene and stuff like that. But it has two completely different connotations. One is politics, and one is not.
Okay, all right. Well, that's good to know. I just wanted to make a note. Am I a good gay or like a?
I mean, your respectability politics is giving good gay.
Okay.
Yeah, you know, it's giving buzz cut. But he was in the military.
All right, we are going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back with Latin Lovers.
And we are back from a quick break with all my Latin lovers. Yes.
I really hate that you sing that.
I know, that's why I'm going to keep doing it.
All right. Okay, so that first Reddit thread that we were just talking about a couple minutes ago.
Girl, that was a long one.
It was. But one of the comments on it didn't get a response from the original poster, but I thought it was an interesting comment where someone asked the poster if they thought that people should tone down their queerness for dates for the sake of respectability. So should people who are maybe more flamboyant tone it down and like get a grip on it before they go out and try to date people because they want to be loved?
How long are they going to be able to hold that up?
Some people do it forever.
So you're going to be in a closet but openly gay? I'm confused.
I mean, a lot of people do. A lot of people live a very restricted... I think some people...
I ain't never heard this before.
I think some queer men definitely live in like a restricted box where they're like, I have to dress a certain way or act a certain way because I'm gay but not that gay. Like, I'm not that kind of gay. No, but
some people are just not, naturally. Like, everybody don't want to go to a circuit party. Everybody don't want to wear a harness.
But that doesn't... I mean... Okay.
Well...
I don't know why. All right, so...
I'm just saying, I get what you were saying, but what I'm saying is there are people that are just not that flamboyant. Like, you can have a friend group where you have every color of the rainbow.
And so the question is, should someone who is, maybe who feels that way, should they tone it down?
No, because as soon as you show your true colors, they're not going to be interested.
So when it comes to that, when it comes to your attraction to people who happen to be more masculine, how much of that, if any of it, has to do with respectability politics? Like when you picture a man who is like more masculine, how much of that is that's what I'm really attracted to, and how much of it, if any, is like this is what would look good?
Zero.
I'm not gonna lie, a percentage of it is absolutely that. For me, it's like it's ingrained in my head. That's
part of the problem.
It's true though.
Okay.
That's how society... What?
He left for a year and he got indoctrinated.
I'm the same person.
He's been to too many galas with the white gays.
But all of the people that I've dated have been like tall and muscular. And so like to me, sometimes I'm like, how much of this is for the look of it? Like how much of it is like, this is the perfect partner and like this is actually like my type.
Okay.
And how much of it is like, no, that's just what I think a good presenting gay couple should look like.
But that doesn't make sense to me because you're not that. That's what you date, but you're not that. So like, it doesn't change how
We can't be two faggots walking down the street. Who's going to be the boy?
One is enough.
Exactly.
No, but what, like... That doesn't
You're saying one is enough for us to get beat up?
Yes. Like, you're getting, like, Jussie Smollett. You get, like, like... I don't understand that. I think that it happens. Absolutely. I think that there are people that really care about what people think. And even if they're not in a relationship, they care about how people look at them. That's how people curate their social media. Like, Kevin hates my social media because I don't give a fuck about how it looks. But I'm talking about like people that
hot ass
like
mess.
we're talking about people that are influencers or think they're influencers and like post only selfies of themselves, and it's like a certain, what is it called? Aesthetic. I don't give a fuck about that. But people that do care about their aesthetic, that goes everywhere with them. That goes on how they go to the parties. That's who they're dating. They're gonna judge who they're dating based on that too. So I don't really think that it will work with dating someone and putting up a front. But if that's who you really are, there's nothing wrong with it.
So a couple months ago, I think is August a couple months ago, technically? I think it is.
6 months, 7 months?
Sure. So last summer, I met a guy out. I think I was with you.
What's his name? Say his name.
It's not Richard. It was something else. I don't know. I have his number somewhere.
Still?
No, I came across it the other day.
Some things never change.
I came across it the other day. So anyway, this guy that I met out, I remember I met him, I think I was out with you.
Okay.
And we met, we briefly exchanged phone numbers. It was one of those nights where we were like, we're leaving early. So we did. So I didn't really get to spend much time with him. We texted for a bit. We ended up making plans to hang out one day. We hung out. It was nice. Then we like got a drink and food, and we were talking. And then this man tells me that no one in his life knows that he's gay.
Oh.
That no one in this grown man's life knows that he's gay. Not his grandma, not his he doesn't talk to his best friends about it. And I was like, so you don't have any gay friends? And he's like, no. And I was like, but I just saw you at a gay a gay bar. And he's like, oh, I just talk to people like when I go, but like I go by myself. Didn't have friends. Doesn't have gay friends. Won't tell anyone that he's gay. And I was like, why am I here? Like, where is it that you see this? And
was he like adamant of never coming out?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
This was a man who I believe was like 38, 39.
Okay.
And was like, yeah, family's like a big, I go to church every week. Family is a big thing for me. I like go to my parents' house. We have a friend like
that. I'm not going to name him, but.
We do?
Mm-hmm. I'll tell you afterwards.
I have a friend like that? Mm-hmm. Not in my life.
We do.
We do?
You won't believe it when I tell you. But yeah.
Oh, is it?
What the fuck? I'm not going to say the name, but let's move on.
Huh.
Yeah, but we do. We all in this room know someone that's like this, that you won't believe it.
Fascinating. And he's a faggot?
Absolutely.
Wow.
Yeah.
So anyway, that date didn't go anywhere, obviously. But I thought it made me sad for him. Like when we were talking and I was like, this is kind of sad. Like you're a grown man who's basically decided to not have friends, because how can you really keep your friends out of, your your romantic life? What are you going to talk about? And I think he's scared to make friends. And
what do you mean? How can you have friends without talking about romantic life? Your life, work, family, hang out? Being
gay has nothing to do with that. You're not going to mention I went to Hush. That's my point. Is I don't think he wants to talk about. Like it felt like a secret. Like hang out with me.
I don't think that. I think that
while we were on a date, it felt like a secret. Like it felt
like very discreet.
No one can see us.
So he ruined the discreet fantasy for you, because I know you had one.
That is not a fantasy. Anyway, all right.
Wait. What I'm gonna say is, I think they don't want to have gay friends because they feel like that would out them. Like if you bring because you could be straight and have a gay friend.
I think he doesn't like himself.
Oh.
I think that he performs a level of respectability, and I think the world, because he thinks that the world views him as a straight man, and he's a masculine guy, so like the world sees him as a straight guy, and that gives him some sense of like security, but he doesn't love himself.
Well, I mean, when you brought up the family, that's not uncommon. Unfortunately, because we know that a lot of people have been disowned because they were gay and they come out.
Grown-ass man.
It doesn't matter. Some people feel like if you're that family oriented, now you sound like someone we don't want to talk about, that cut off their whole family and they don't care about not having family. But if you are someone who was raised with your family and you felt like you could never come out because you know their politics or how they feel about it.
But if you are that close to your family and you really think...
It happens.
I guess.
It happens.
I guess. I heard you.
Are let's say, an only child, or you only have one sibling, and y'all are very close, and that person, you know they're homophobic, and if you come out, there's a chance. It doesn't mean that it's gonna happen. There's only a chance that they might cut you off. People might sacrifice coming out and living their truth to keep that relationship.
Maybe.
We won't, because we don't give a fuck about that. But what I'm saying is, like, I see it at work. There is people at work who are definitely gays, who are married with kids, and they are fucking gay.
And
I don't know how they get away with it.
And with that, we're going to move on to the next topic. All right. So another user online, she was asking whether or not she made the right decision to date someone.
You asking.
This user was asking if she made the right decision to pursue a relationship with someone who is more moderate than her. Oh. And she said that on their first date, she toned down her political rhetoric and she toned down like the way she talked about things. And she's classified herself as like a radical socialist, but stopped talking about those things with the person she's dating because she wants a real partnership and this person is like a potential suitor. Okay. So how do you feel about people toning down their political rhetoric and not exposing it to the person that they want to date? I've seen a big amount of this on threads with women arguing with guys. So like I have friends who are like political commentators and like these guys, these like MAGA guys, like start like arguing with them in the comments and like calling them all a bunch of names. And you do a quick Google search and it's like, your wife follows me. And I've seen people like messaging women and being like, do you know that your husband is like on here pushing MAGA while you're over here like voting for Kamala Harris? So I didn't realize how common it was for people to hide their political views.
I was gonna say, I don't even think it's about hiding. Some people make the decision to not talk about politics. We've spoken about that as far as like you can't, like there's a line of a certain thing. Like again, like Donald Trump is not just a Republican or conservative. So like before Donald Trump, we had Republicans, Democrats, right? And you had people in the middle, moderates. We didn't have the radical right, and the radical right was the Tea Party before Donald Trump. They were not somebody that we considered an existential threat. But now with Donald Trump, there is a line where, are you MAGA? Like, do you support this man even now after everything he's done? Then there could be a problem. But I think that there's nothing wrong with leaving politics out because some people could be more conservative than others. You can have a disagreement about taxes or immigration and stuff like that, or voter ID laws or how federal funds are used. I don't think you have to talk about politics. Like for you, I think you would need to because of recent conversations we had. Like you want somebody to talk about politics. I don't really want to talk about politics, to be honest. I don't want to talk about politics with who I'm dating. Like, I want to know where they stand, but I don't want to talk about politics all the time because I get drained with this shit.
But it comes up all the time. So
no,
like,
it comes up all the time, but I'm saying, like, you are someone who, like, want to talk about something that just happened and you want to have somebody that agrees and, like, that you could talk with. I don't need that because I like to argue. So sometimes I'll be like, be MAGA tonight.
Be MAGA.
I want to argue.
That's how you role play? That's what you're
Maybe?
into? All right.
No, I'm not. Sorry.
That's enough of that. We are going to take another quick break and we'll be back with retweet or deletes.
Yes. All right, and we are back from that very quick break. You don't even know how quick it was. But we are back with retweet or delete. I block black folks who believe in respectability politics because what the fuck do you mean? You're willing to shit on your folks if they don't perform well enough for people whose ancestors literally ate ours. Candace Owens, wow.
Retweet. I think it is really sick to watch people tap dance for MAGA, especially. There's so many, like, I was just on Native Land Pod this week and we were having this conversation about this. There's a do you know Teray?
Yeah.
All right. So Teray this week, at the time that we're like recording this, is going through a lot online because people are dragging him everywhere because he made a video saying that he respected this white protester in Minneapolis who called a black ICE agent a house N-word.
Sir, I need to move to house. 99.9% of the time, it is wrong for a white person to call a black person the N-word, but we may have found the exception. In Minneapolis recently, a white anti-ICE protester was in a group of anti-ICE protesters yelling at a black ICE Gestapo agent. An unidentified white male called the black ICE agent a house N-word who's working for the KKK. That's right, we have a white man calling a black man the N-word. But this is a little bit different. White on black usage of the N-word is a very serious issue. But this is a curveball example. Is it wrong for a white person to call a black ICE officer a house N-word? Let's explore. The white man who used the N-word in this situation was being historically precise. This black ICE agent, he is being a house N-word to the utmost degree.
And he was like, actually, this makes sense. And like, we shouldn't be upset because historically, like, this is all right. And black folks are like, are you okay? Like, it's never okay to defend white people using this kind of language.
Right.
And so like that to me is interesting because it's respectability politics, but on the other side where it's like, no, this white person's on our side. Like they understand. So like, it's okay to let them be racist to this black ICE agent. When it's like,
when you could have just
racism in either direction should be wrong.
Yeah.
It shouldn't matter whether or not you agree with the person.
Yeah.
Even
well, racism only goes one way.
What do you mean? Racism is wrong whether or not it's pointed at a black Republican or a black like liberal.
Yes.
Racism in general is wrong. So like just because this person is on your side of the argument and that's why they're being racist to someone doesn't, you know, like my friend Alex was like, yeah, right message, wrong messenger. Like it's not okay.
And also it was a woman, right?
I think it was a guy. Yeah.
They could have made them feel like shit without saying the N-word.
Correct.
They could have just been like, you're a disgrace. Your ancestors are rolling in their grave. Your grandmother's
Even that, I don't like when white people use the word ancestors. Y'all don't got ancestors.
But they could have, I'm saying. They do have ancestors. They just weren't successful.
Moving on.
Or invented or creative.
Last one.
All right, so the last one is...
A moderate Democrat will never save us because at their core, they agree with most of this. They just can't say it publicly. A moderate Democrat is nothing but a Republican who practices the politics of respectability.
Delete. That's not true. A moderate Democrat is not a Republican. A moderate Democrat is someone who is just not fully liberal or far right, but also they can't call themselves a conservative. So how is it the same? A moderate Republicans and MAGA will not agree with a moderate.
I think this is just sort of like the big picture thing about like how people are showing up right now, like how Democrats are showing up right now. Okay. And I mean, if we're talking in terms of like specific races, specific situations, if we're looking at 2028, I agree. I don't think that a moderate Democrat is going to take us anywhere. I think it's a recipe.
But that's not what this is saying.
I'm adding context, but
some things never change.
I'm going to retweet that.
You're going to retweet that a moderate Democrat is a Republican?
It depends on who you're talking about. I want to add more context.
No, then if you're talking about like the senator, the one that left, what's the M from South, is it South Carolina? Or West Virginia? The senator that
Joe Manchin?
Joe Manchin. That's not a Democrat.
That's a Republican, yeah.
Yeah, that was a Republican. And Fetterman.
Kristen Sinema.
And Fetterman,
John
exactly.
Fetterman.
But those are not real moderates.
But they are. They're moderate Democrats.
They're not moderates. They ran as a moderate to get elected in that seat. But their politics are not moderate.
Retweet. All right, y'all. That is it for this week's episode of By Latin Men. 2 in a row. This was great. This was really fun. Thank you, guys. We will be back next week with an all-new episode of By Latin Men. Till then, follow us on Instagram at By Latin Men. Follow us on YouTube. Follow me at Here's Why Kevin. Follow Anthony at Mr. Anthony Polanco. And make sure to go and register to vote. Go to vote.gov to check your voter registration status. Talk to you later. Take care. Love you. Bye.
Bye.